Does it feel like a red wave?
It feels like a red wave, Brian.
You know, your predictions of a red wave are accurate.
Somebody made a surfboard, said the red wave is coming.
Red wave rising.
That red wave that I'm convinced is coming.
The reports I'm seeing show a big red wave coming.
Sleepy Joe just guaranteed a red wave in Pennsylvania.
We think we're going to have a big red wave in Michigan.
Wow.
Democrats are bracing for the worst case scenario, a red tsunami.
We are officially on a red tsunami watch.
Sean, we're going to see a red tsunami.
Red tsunami grows.
And lastly, your prediction for tonight.
I think we're going to have a red wave. I think it's going to be maybe bigger than anyone thought.
The goods you buy are going to be more expensive this holiday season because they cost far more to ship.
During this inflationary period.
Inflation, super high rates.
Probably roughly still 10% inflation in the fourth quarter.
This election is a victory. The American people rejected the anti-democratic, extremist MAGA Republicans.
Not just a red wave, but a red tsunami.
So what happened to the red wave?
Yeah, so what did happen to the red wave? What about this 40-year high inflation? These super high gas prices? The grocery prices? Electric bills? What about the supply chain issues? Diesel shortages? Labor shortages? Oh, I get it. It's Trump's fault. Or is it the abortion decision handed down by the Supreme Court earlier this year? Or it was record turnout for Gen Z.
Election day was a good day for Gen Z. This was the second highest turnout for young voters in midterm elections in the past 30 years.
Or maybe it was all of the above. What if I told you about a legal, very unorthodox, very un-American election strategy that Democrats have been using to beat Republicans in recent elections by ways of mass mail-in ballots and ballot harvesting? You see states like California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, and Washington State. These states have been doing mass vote-by-mail operations for years. Most voters weren't even aware of this mass vote-by-mail operation until the COVID outbreak.
Coronavirus! Coronavirus! I'm telling you, it's real!
Thank you, Cardi B. Now, where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. So, during the plandemic, we had a lot of people who were scared to go vote in person. The Democrats were all too ready to implement the mass mail-in voting system that was already taking place in these 8 states that I just named out for you. And we saw all kinds of chaos ensue during the 2020 elections due to the mass vote-by-mail operation. A lot of states weren't prepared for it. A lot of states couldn't handle it. And we saw how it just broke down the election systems in several states. And as a result, during the 2020 election, as we all remember, there were 6 battleground states that had very serious issues counting up their ballots during that election. Those states were Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Michigan wasn't that bad, but Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, and Pennsylvania specifically, those 4 states had very serious issues tallying up their ballots, and they would start the count, stop the count, start the count, stop the count. And there was very little transparency. There was all kind of complaints. People were signing affidavits. People were pissed off. And here in my home state of Georgia, there was supposed to be some busted pipe at State Farm Arena, which served as a mass polling location. And later we found out it was just a running toilet. So it was a lot of shenanigans going on. It was a lot of unanswered questions. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of what truly happened in 2020 in these 6 battleground states. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona were the worst in my opinion. And it was just a very, very highly contested election. And it went way past Trump. It wasn't just Trump complaining. There were lots of people complaining. I'm complaining to this day. And I'm not surprised that the results happened a week and a half ago, since we really didn't take care of business from 2020. Georgia made some really, really serious changes. And as a result, we lost our All-Star game for Major League Baseball. Watch this.
The ability for voter suppression to work is
almost complete.
The league is taking the 2021 All-Star Game away from Atlanta. The move comes in response to new voter laws passed in the state of Georgia. The new law adds guidelines around mail-in ballots.
Now, I'm a proud black man from the state of Georgia, born and raised, and I love Georgia. I've never been disenfranchised, and I've never had my right to vote suppressed, nor do I know any other black people who've had their right to vote suppressed in Georgia. It would have been all over the news. We have the third largest black population in America. Trust me, if there was real voter suppression going on in Georgia, the wokies would have been all over it. Joe Biden even tried to say it was Jim Crow 2.0.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
So despite all the lies and all the media foolishness like they always do, the Atlanta Braves would go on and win the title that year. Their first time winning since the 90s. Go Braves. So in conclusion, guys, there is a multitude of reasons why we got the results we did this midterm election cycle. It's not one specific issue that doomed us. It wasn't just the vote by mail situation, but yes, if you look at the states that we could have won Senate seats in, and that the governorship in Arizona with Kari Lake, of course the media is going to say, oh, she's a Trump supporter, oh, she's an election denier, what else is new? You know, if you're a Republican, you're going to get attacked. That's just what they do. However, Katie Hobbs didn't even debate. What did Katie Hobbs know that we didn't know? In this world of vote by mail and this mass mailing of ballots, and the lack of checking IDs, the lack of signature requirements, signature matching, just this hodgepodge, this just clusterfuck of running an election is just ripe for shenanigans, fraud, abuse, manipulation. It just doesn't make sense. And if you remember on the day of the election out there in Arizona, when people went to go vote in person, which is mostly Republicans, because that's what we do, we like to vote on election day, and I don't blame us for doing that. I vote on election day here in Georgia, but out there in Arizona, I think like 20% of all the voting machines just mysteriously went down in a lot of precincts where Republicans live. How does that happen? And Katie Hobbs is the overseer of the elections. Don't get me started. It's really just a bunch of BS, and everybody knows it. I really hope Kari Lake tries to fight back and do something. I don't know if she'll better get another election. Some people are saying she's going to try to fight for another election. I know the Democrats would raise pure hell if that were to even gain any type of traction. But for the Republicans to have controlled Arizona over the past few election cycles, it makes no sense that they didn't clean their elections up. Arizona is becoming a bigger and bigger state, but it's still not a top 10 state for population. We raised hell here in Georgia. The voters in Georgia were pissed. When I tell you, I've never seen the Republican base that fired up during that whole post-2020 autopsy. Oh man, we were out of control. The town halls were packed. They were on Kemp's ass. They came up with a decent election reform bill here in Georgia. It wasn't perfect, but it did help clean the elections up, and we didn't have the shenanigans going on this election cycle in the midterms like we did in 2020, because we cleaned up that mass vote by mail crap. Arizona got to get it together. Nevada got to get it together. Pennsylvania, they have early voting all the way out until September. That's crazy. They basically have almost 2 months to flood the system with mail-in ballots. That's insane. Dr. Oz never had a chance. He wasn't the best candidate, but my God. 60 days of early voting, mass mail-in voting, and election day voting. They had Dr. Oz's grave dug before the polls even closed on November 8th. But I'm about to wrap things up. I appreciate y'all for watching, and I just want y'all to understand that this is going to be a marathon. This is not a fight that's going to be won in one election cycle. It's actually going to take us doing more than voting. We have to think bigger than voting. This is beyond voting. We have to get rid of the RINOS. We know that Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy are both going to be in the same positions they were in before this election happened. That just shows you how powerful they are, how much they lust for power. Instead of doing what's best for the country, they're only concerned about themselves and bowing to the special interest. Power is not given, power is taken. And unfortunately in our country, there are a lot of people who are willing to cut the throat of their own mother, their own father, their own brother, their own sister for more power and more money. And I'm not going to go into the whole what's moral and what's right, because we all know most of these people in Washington and our state capitals are dirty as a baby's diaper. But there are some good people that are in office. There are some good patriotic individuals. I have a lot of respect for several people that have served our country in the military, in government, whatever. And I know some really good people here in Georgia and across the country. I've traveled to many states and met some really cool people. And you just got to get involved. You have to get involved in the fight. I'm in my 30s. I'm a millennial. I believe that this battle is going to be mostly fought by the people in their, early 50s, 40s, 30s, and 20s. Gen Z, Millennial, and Gen X. The boomers are getting old. They're not going to go out on the battlefield like that anymore. They're in their 60s and 70s now. They're getting on up there. The boomers are getting old. And they're just not going to, see things the way we see them. They're comfortable. And they've worked for decades, and a lot of them are reaching retirement. So I'm not mad at the boomers for being comfortable. But we have a very privileged society. We're very spoiled. We're very entitled. We got it made. In certain countries around the world, all this crazy stuff that's going on, from the LGBTQRSTUV agenda, the feminism foolishness, abortion. I mean, it's the open borders, the trans kids and women's sports, and it's all the foolishness that we see going on in this country. It wouldn't fly in some of these third world countries across the globe, and they have a whole lot less than we do. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times, and easy times create weak men. And we've had it easy for so long. I think we just have a lot of weak men. A society rises and falls with their men. That's why I named my channel The Conservative Lion, because it's time for the lions to roar. It is time for the lions and the lionesses to roar. And they need to hear us roar. And it don't take a whole pride of lions to bring down the beast. But it's going to take some. It's going to take more than one. And it's a battle. If you ever get a chance, go on National Geographic and look at some of those hunts that those lions go on. Whenever they take down the wildebeest or even the hippo, it takes about 4 or 5 of them to take down one of those animals, because they're big. They're real big. They're bigger than the lions. And the swamp is bigger than all of us. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of power. And they got the media on their side. We know the Republicans in Washington are part of the Uniparty. Most of them. We know this already. The boomers know it too. But like I said, it's a certain, segment of the population that's going to fight, and a certain segment of the population that's going to stand on the sidelines. But a revolution is always started by the few, not the many. And get involved in your local political races when the election season comes back. Start now. 2024 starts now. Start putting pressure on your state legislatures to fix these election laws with this mass mail-in voting. If you live in one of those states, even if you have a blue governor, organize with your local conservatives on the local level. There's power in numbers. Work out, stay healthy, keep your eyes on what's going on, keep your head on the swivel, watch everything, pray. Everybody don't believe in God, but a lot of us on the right do. Never stop praying. Never give up hope. Y'all like the video, y'all subscribe, share, tell everybody about it. I'll see y'all later on. Thank you.